Hello, everyone. My name is Simone Clark, and today I will discuss how to dynamically query last month's data. Next slide, please. There are two benefits to using a dynamic query. One would be no manual data entry, and the other is an automation option. Next. Next slide, please. Uh-oh. So, we can query this data by using a date calculation, either via a derived field or using a variable. Next, please. On the left, I have my select clause. In this example, we'll discuss how to use the date calculation via a derived field. So on the left, I have my select clause, which contains the date calculation for the first and last day of the previous month. On the right, I have my Files and Fields tab, which contain the derived fields with the two calculations. You can enter these calculations by right-clicking on the field and selecting Expression Editor. Next, please. In here, we just have a breakdown of the two calculations. For the first day of the previous month, this calculation uses the current date function. So I ran this query using today's date. So the calculation would break down to current date, which is today is November 10th, minus 10 days plus 1 day minus 1 month, which will give you the first day of the previous month. The last day calculation breaks down to the current date minus 10 days, which will give you the last day of the previous month. Next, please. And here we have our results. On the right, I have October 1st through October 31st. I received these results because I used today's date in the current date calculation for this query. Next, please. In my second example, I will discuss the date calculation via a variable. On the right, I have highlighted my where clause, which contains our variables for the first and last day of the previous month. On the left, I have the variables tab. I specified a date type. And for automation purposes, I specified star no prompt, which will prevent our end users from being prompted to enter a date or a numeric value at runtime. And we have the default calculation, which is the same calculation we used in the previous example. I would like to know when automating this particular query, you will have to specify the set var parameter when adding to a job scheduler. Next, please. And here we have a closer look at the default calculation of the variables we had in the previous slide. It's important that you start your default calculations with SQL. I just wanted to point that out. Next slide, please. And here we have the results of our calculation. On the right, I have a single column of 31 records, which represents the 31 days in October. And we came to these results because we used today's date in our calculation using the current date function. Next slide, please. Here we have our example that uses the date calculation via the where clause. On the left, I've highlighted the where clause, which contains the same calculation as our previous examples. As you can see, we are using the where clause again. However, this time we are not using a variable, which makes it easier to automate this query because it eliminates the need for the set var parameter. On the right, I have a screenshot of the expression editor of the where clause. Next slide, please. And lastly, I would like to discuss the automation options. Depending on your preference, if you're a green screen user, on the left, you can either use the IBMi job scheduler or the robot scheduler using the commands I have highlighted here. If you're a viewpoint user, you can access the same automation options, either the IBM job scheduler or the robot job scheduler. However, it is important that you have Robot Scheduler installed on your iSeries in order to use these automation options. That's all I have for today. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for joining us.